Okay, this is intended to be a demo of our digital logic app. In the lab, the way you search for it is MMLogic. You can think of it, we're getting close to Halloween, and Halloween you eat lots of M&Ms. So you can remember MM. If you type in MM, it will probably give it to you with a better icon than this. But then you click on that, and we get this really wild and crazy looking background screen to look. This is our palette, or no, this is our whiteboard, our drawing space. And this line, I don't know why they do this, but this line means that I can only operate in this area here. And I don't like doing that. So before I even draw anything on here at all, let's see if I can go to, that's not it. View, grid settings is what I want. And without doing anything to it, the width is small and the height is okay. I'm going to make it 1200 instead of 800. There. Now all of a sudden I've got a bigger window to work with, and I like that much better. I would like to be able to maximize it, but I can't get to the top. Well, that's irrelevant. Okie doke. Deep breath. Here we go. I can't see it. Let's make that. I know I've got 3 inputs on. I did label them ABC, right? How do I even get inputs on here? Well, these tiny little icons that are probably easier for you to see than they are for me. This one you might recognize as an OR gate on top of an AND gate. That means those are our Lego blocks that we get to choose from. Move them up here where we can see them. It's actually called a palette. And you'll see some things in here you recognize. Here is an AND gate. When you float over it, look at this message down here. You float over it, it tells you if you've forgotten. That's an AND gate. That's an OR gate. There's the invert, also known as the NOT gate. And the light switch, wherever that is, there it is. The light switch is an input. I'm going to start with the very beginning, which is a very good place to start. I'm going to put 3 light switches over here. I'm clicking the mouse, bop, bop, bop. And here's my palette way off to the side. Didn't mean to do that. I'm going to label them if I forget. And if I click on the A for text, I can drop 3 text boxes over here. I don't know if I can make this larger. No, I can't. It's not getting any larger. I'm really going to have to focus on this. Now, here's where you got to be careful. I don't just click on the text box to put text in it. I call this the Mother May I arrow. Now that I have text boxes, I click on this, which I think they call select. And now I can click on the text box. And when I right click on it for properties, I can put what text I want in there. And I want space A space. All it is a label. So now this is light switch number A. Can everybody see that? Is that large enough? This looks a lot smaller than I'm used to seeing it. Maybe things are shrinking over time. If I've still got the select arrow selected, and if I right click on that, I can set the properties on that to B. And I don't have to put spaces before and after. I just do that to make it look better. Right click on this and properties, and that one will be C. Okay. So far so good. Now, everything I'm going to do for the next little bit, for the next couple of minutes, except for move things around to try to make them look a little more organized. You can just drag them around when you got the select arrow selected. All of this is going to be set up, and then I'll look at my SOP to figure out how to hook everything up. The connections are all going to need to be made by wires, and I clicked on this almost invisible thing up here, node, the node drawing tool. I'm going to drop a node over here. Node, 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 just so I've got something to connect the initial wires to. Oh, and this is a challenge for me. These are old people icons up here. You can make the icons and everything else get bigger. There, now I can see it. For crying out loud. And I'm dragging, holding the mouse button down and dragging from the input switch over to a node, just to give me a place where I can hook everything up that needs to hook up to A, B, and C. And you're going to have to yell out questions. I might not see your hand in the dark. While I've got it bigger like that, I'm going to also, almost always when we need plain A, B, and C, we also need some not A, B, and C. So here come the NOT gates. I click on the party hat and drop 3 of those over here. And I'll connect wires. Notice I'm doing all of this just as preparation. I haven't even looked at the SOP yet. Can't fit it all on the screen at one time. I did it on my first try. Okay, minus sign there. That's supposed to be normal size. To me, that looks tiny. But all of that was to get ready to try to do this. Okay. Now we got to pay attention to the recipe because the rest of it is not just sort of do all this for setup work. We've actually got to get real about it. How many AND gates do I need? 4. If you've got 4 products, 4 of these groups of 3 variables stuck together, then I need 4 AND gates to it's called realizing it. I need 4 AND gates to realize this circuit. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll go back to the select arrow, and we're going to have a problem. What needs to be connected to the first AND gate? Can anybody see that in the dark? Is it not A, not B, and plain C? Okay, so I'll need to connect to not A, not B, plain C, but Houston, we have a problem. There are only 2 places to connect over here. Go back to the select arrow, right click, properties, and I want 3 inputs. Do you see what I did there? Properties, you can set 2 inputs, 3 inputs, or 4 inputs. I'm going to need 3 inputs because I got 3 different input variables, and I do that with each one of those. Properties, 3 inputs, please. Properties, 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 3 inputs, please. Properties. I'm not that good with the mouse. 3 inputs, please. You'll be able to do this a lot better than I am. And there is no way I'm going to try to connect these so tiny like that, so I'm going to make them bigger again. Now, I got to pay attention to my SOP again. Not A, not B, plain C. Is that the first one? Yeah. Okay. Here's some not A right here. I got to get the wire. Make sure you get the right icon selected. Wire, not A, not B. Not C. It's plain C. Oh no, I ruined it. I have to start all over. No. I got to do the select arrow, and you can click either end of the wire. If you want to get rid of a gate, just click on the gate. If you want to get rid of the wire, click on the end of it, and you see that highlighted. And somewhere up here, some little scissors. I'll just give this a haircut. Snip, and away it goes. That was the wrong wire. So now I can add the right wire, which should be plain C. I'm going to have to drag it all the way up, and I'm rolling the mouse to get up there to it. Now then, double check me. Not A, not B, plain C. Is that the first one? What's the second one? Can somebody read that off to me? Not A. So I'll connect to that node. The NOT gates come with their own nodes, so you don't have to add additional one for NOT. You do have to have pretty good aim with the mouse, though, which I do not have. Okay, not A. What now? Normal B. Should get someone else to drive. There. And not C or plain C? Sorry about that. I've been messaging with my little brother. He's in the path of the hurricane headed to Florida. Okay. The third one is what? Plain A, not B, not C. Plain A. Does everybody see what I'm doing here with these wires connecting to the gates? Plain or not doing, as the case may be. Plain, and then 2 knots. Yeah. Notice when I get to this stage, I am wholly dependent on having a correct SOP. So double and triple check your SOP. Make sure it matches your truth table before you go this far. If you don't want to be doing all this stuff for something that's going to be wrong. The bad news, the heartbreak of this, I'll warn you ahead of time. If you do something wrong and the output is not what you wanted it to be, the shortcut is just to erase the whole thing and start over. Because these things get so tangled up so quickly, and trying to play follow the wires, I don't know. That's a loser game, at least it is in my case. And the last one is what? All plane. Okay. I should be able to remember that. Plane A from the plane A node. Plane B from the plane B node. Plane C from the plane C node. Okay. Now zoom back out. I'm clicking on the magnifying to go larger or smaller. I could make it super large. Even I don't need that. I'm not that old yet. Okay, so there it is so far, hooked up through the AND gates. Does anybody have a question about that? Those are our products, but we're not done until we have a sum of products. Sum in air quotes, it's not really sum. What do we need to incorporate here to gather all of these outputs from the ANDs together? One big OR gate. You're exactly right. So click on the fish head and drop a fish head and click on the select and properties. You'll notice this one only goes as high as 4 inputs. Okay. So shoo, we barely got enough. What if we had 5 or 6 or 7? Well, we don't need it here, but I'm going to go ahead and show you while we're at it. If I needed a 5 input OR gate, watch what I can do. Watch what I can do. I'll just drop an additional OR gate over here, and I could connect it with wires. And bada boom, bada bing, this is called cascading the OR gates. Now I do have a 5 input OR gate. 1, 2, 3, 4 inputs here and one more here, and they're all ORed together. I could have right-clicked on this one and made it another 4 input, and I would have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 input OR gate. So don't feel limited by just the settings that you have per individual gate. You can cascade ANDs together. Okay, this will be on video so you can remember. Otherwise, you might want to write it down. You can cascade ANDs with other ANDs and end up with a very wide AND gate with a bunch of inputs. You can cascade ORs with other ORs. What you can't do if you want to preserve the same digital logic functionality is mix ANDs and ORs. I don't even know what we would call that. But you can build big OR gates by sticking OR gates together. You can build big AND gates by sticking AND gates together. That's the part that I wanted you to remember. Now I'm going to exercise my scissor right again. Click on that and scissor it out. Bonk. And I need to connect the outputs of all of the ANDs to the OR gate for our grand finale. First try. Come on, first try. Did it. Okay. Feel good. I feel strong. I think I can do this. Did it. 2 more. This is not as challenging as it looks. I just have a lot of problems with this. I don't have a steady hand. I don't have good eyes. Wah. All those problems. Now, are we done yet? Are we done yet? Well, we don't have any output over here. We don't see anything. That's what this thing is. If I float over that, it says use LED device. What we do is we put an LED over here. It's a little light, and we can connect to the little light. I did that without even zooming in. Thank you very much. You have no idea how proud of myself I am right now. I'm going to go to select again. I hope it's not too late to set properties on this. Properties, red, that looks like these light switches. I want to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to make it yellow. You got a choice of red, yellow, and green. Yellow will be really easy to see. So I think I chose yellow. I was talking and not paying attention to myself. Let that be a lesson to me. Okay, it is yellow. Now then, is that right or is it not? Don't raise your hand and say, Dr. England, look at this and tell me if it's right or not. No. Here's what you do. This little thing, part of the toolbar that looks like an MP3 player up here, that's to run your circuit. Run your circuit. If I click on run, watch what happens. Well, the LED didn't come on. What's the first row in the truth table? All zeros, and the output should be what? 0. So far, so good. What's the second row in the truth table? 0, 0, 1. So I got to click on this to get a 1. And look what happened. The light came on. So far, so good. It works correctly for the first 2 rows. What's the third row? 0, 1, 0. Should the light be on? Second, what's the truth table? Yes, it's a 1. What's the fourth row? 0, 1, 1. Should the light be off? Yes. We're halfway there. What else we got? 1, 0, 0. Should it be on? Yes. Then the next one I bet is 1, 0, 1. It should be off. Then 1, 1, 0. It should be off. And 1, 1, 1 grand finale. Please, oh please, oh please. And it came on. So, yes, it is working. Who has a question about what just happened? How do you stop this crazy thing? Well, you click on the little stop box up here. Stop. And I'm going to do a little bit of dragging things around. For this reason, as you could probably easily guess with the limited experience we have with this so far, these things get big and complicated in a hurry, in which case there's not room, even though I expanded this whiteboard here so I could draw on it with my Lego blocks, there's not going to be room for big, more complicated circuits. Watch what I can do. I can have the select tool selected, and I'm going to try to very carefully select everything except the light switches, the inputs, and the outputs. Now, look at all those. Those are all selected. One thing I can do if I want to for fun is drag all this around together. What's going to be even more fun for me to do is to get the scissors after all this work. Snip, and there they go. Now, not the magnifying glasses, but these other things, plus and minus. If you look at this corner down here, if you can see that from where you're sitting, this says page 1. Watch what happens when I click on the purple plus. Page 2, and it looked like everything disappeared. Well, I never had anything on page 2. Here's page 1, here's page 2. I'm going to click right here and right click, paste. Oh, I don't know why it does this. Just click through all of it. And there it is. There's the stuff from the front page. Okay. What's missing? Well, what's missing are the inputs and outputs. So we are going to have to send those by Bluetooth or Wi-Fi signal or whatever you want to think of it as. We've got to send those, the missing stuff. We've got to send the missing stuff on page 2, what the input switches are, and then we've got to receive, I'm getting ahead of myself. I've got to send to the second page what the values of the inputs are. Over here somewhere, these things that look like a little rocket and a rocket receiver. Signal sender, look at what the description is down there. This is a signal sender. I'm going to drop 3 signal senders here. That's a tongue twister, and I've said it right every time so far, but I jinxed myself by saying so now. And connect those to wires after I enlarge it. Now, instead of going to all that complicated circuitry, B and C and A are going to what are called signal senders. And they're going to send, it's like a fake little radio signal to the second page and tell the second page what the value of A and B and C are, but only if I label them properly. This, oh no, I didn't mean to do that. Don't talk and click at the same time. Get out of here. I meant to do the select and right click on this, properties. I'm not going to put any spaces in this because that's going to make it more error prone. I hope I typed an A. I did. And right click on this, and properties of that will be B. Right click, properties, C. Now, before I forget, I'll shrink this back down temporarily, and I'll go to the next page. And I need receivers from those senders. So I need to go next to the little rocket and click on a receiver. Receive, receive, receive. Make this larger so I can see it. Everywhere I had the A light switch, connected to this circuit on the front page. I need to reconnect it here on the second page. It was connected to its plain version, hey, plain version of A node, and it was also connected to the not version. There. And before I leave, go ahead. This has to be named exactly the same as whatever I named the receiver on the front page, and I named the sender on the front page. This is a receiver for A, and for quick review, here's the sender for A. So when this switch is flipped on, it's going to send a 1 through this sender, and that 1 will be picked up over here. Does everybody got the concept of that? See what's going on? I got to do the same thing for B and C. And what that does is give me a lot more space to work with all of a sudden on the front page. Oh my goodness, that's ugly. Get out of here. Now, yes, you can drag these around at your leisure for cosmetic reasons. Make it easier to see, make it easier to understand. This one's going to need some work as well, I think. There, and move the NOT gate so it looks better. Now, I've got to rename each of these two so that they match their senders. Properties B, properties C. C. Okay. Is everybody okay with that so far? I've got to do the same thing with the output, except every time I'm communicating from, I've got to use a sender, and every time I'm receiving from, I've got to use a receiver. So this is going to be another sender, and connect the wire. Oh, come on. No, that's the wrong way. And just so it matches our truth table, I'm going to call this one example 2, EX2. EX2 is our digital logic function. And then shrink it back down. That should be, famous last words, knock on fake wood, that should be about done. All I got to do now is remember the name of my sender so that when I get back to the front page, I can set up a receiver and connect that. And again, you don't have to do all the zoom in, zoom out. I do. Bless my heart. And I want to rename this receiver to be example 2. Now, if I've done everything right, and I've just been a good person, darn it, then this might even work the first time. I'm even going to move this back because there's no room, no reason to leave all that glaring white space. That's all we need on this front page because all of the dirty work is behind the scenes over here. Here's where the magic happens. And it runs it through all of these things and sends back a single output at the front page. Let me see if I broke it or if it still works. 1 comes on. 1. If any one of the light switches is on, then the light should light up, right? According to the truth table. So there's 3 input possibilities. The others, you could go through and test all these. The only other place where it should light up is if all 3 of them are on. So there's 4 possibilities. Either exactly one light switch is turned on or all 3 of them are on. That's the only times I should see it light up. And I think we're in business. I think it's working. First question about this. Now, I like to think of stop. I like to think of the LEDs as just sort of a temporary debugging testing tool because it's a lot more fun in MMLogic if you make this interesting by using actual pictures. So I'm going to temporarily, well, I need to save this, my goodness. File, save as, and I'll put it on my, I think I'll put it on my H drive. I don't know if I can get there from here. This PC, where are you? There you are. H drive, Sys112402, that's you. And I'm going to put it in there, except keep the extension LGI. And that's just the output file from this MMLogic program. I don't even know what it stands for. But I want the name of this to be EX2, ex2.lgi. And I've safely stored it on my H drive, and now I changed the file name up here, so it is example2 LGI. So I've at least got this, and if I mess it up or delete stuff accidentally, oh, here's a nonsensical, illogical pro tip I learned the hard way. And I don't even remember how I figured out that this is what you got to do. With the select tool, jiggle everything. If you forget to do this, you'll be reminded. And let me do this first. Jiggle absolutely everything. Just move it around a little bit. You can put it right back where it was. I'm almost done, and then I'll solve the mystery, or explain the mystery. There, everything's jiggled. And I'll click on the diskette icon to save again. When you don't do that, for reasons that I don't understand and I don't even think they're on purpose, of course they're not on purpose. When you save the file and when you bring it back up, some of your wires and your gates will be gone. For some reason, if you don't jiggle stuff around when you save it, before you save it, then it doesn't save everything to the file. And if you think that was a hard error for me to track down, you would be right. Oh my goodness, I didn't think we were ever going to get that to work correctly. It might even been, I might be taking credit for someone else's work. It might be a student that told me they did that and it worked. So we'll go with that. Some student of the past spared us the heartache by saying, well, all you got to do is jiggle all the stuff around, and then when you save it and bring it back, it'll be good. Yes. You know, I don't know, and I don't know that I would be willing to risk it if I put a lot of time into my circuit. You might try that with, just a single AND gate or something like that, just to see if it's working. And you could test that theory. It's a lab. You can run science experiments. You can see if jiggling the whole thing together is good enough or if it's not. Okay, here's where I'm headed. I am headed to the internet, assuming I can get here with all the new protocols I set up just today. I want to find something that represents on. And there's shoes. And there's more shoes. I typed on. There's an on. I'll take, well, I like this one. Let me see if I can right click and save this image. No, it's going to give me the link. I'll have to click on it actually. Can I save it from here? Can I get save image as? There it is. Save image as. And I put it in the same folder, exactly the same folder as where I have my LGI file, which I've already lost now. This PC, H drive. Here you are. And this is on logic.png. Save. It can be any format. Now that I've got on, I need off. Oh man, in no uncertain terms. I kind of like this one. I'll right click on that. Save image as. No, where's the save image as? Oh, here it is. Save image as. Oh my goodness. Is the what? Cancel. I guess I'll try going to the website and see if they'll let me get it there. Right click, save as. That's HTML. Cancel. You know what? You're not so attractive to me after all anymore. Here, Halloween off. See if it'll do that. Right click, save image. This might take some iterations, some trial and error. What's the extension on that? JPEG. Okay, that'll work. I'll just save it as is. Okay. I've got a PNG file and I've got a JPEG file, and I want to use those to represent on and off rather than an LED coming on and off. So that's all I need the web for. Be gone. I do need to go back to my folder, zoom height. Okay. The images are this on logo and this is off button. Here's what I got to do. I got to search for a different application. paint, P-A-I-N-T. Why? Because the MMLogic program will only accept bitmap images, .bmp. And life is not so simple that you can just erase JPEG and put in BMP. That won't work. BMP is actually a different way of storing the machine language data. I have to do the file open, if I can find it, file open, and navigate. Look at all those pictures. Navigate to my H drive again. This is the worst part, navigating to the H drive. And there's your folder. And on logo, for crying out loud. Oh my goodness, that is way too big. I'm first going to change the size of it because that'll take up the whole screen. Resize. I'm surprised I can even see that, but if I click on resize, I'm going to try bumping it down to 25% of what it used to be. So 25% of each direction. That's good. That's okay. That's not too big. That's just fine. There's nothing to complain about here. File, save as. I want the one right smack in the middle. I think it's even in the middle in the lab when you save from Paint. But I need the bitmap picture. And I also got to be careful about the name. I'm going to call this, it's a picture, so I'll call it P1.bmp. Why is P1 important? Well, we'll find out in just a second. Okay, save it. And another file, open file, open the off button. Oh my goodness, that is even way too bigger. And I've got to do the resize on that for sure. Resize, that one maybe even down to 15%. We'll see what that looks like. That'll do. Hey, that's fine. No complaints here. I was very lucky. Usually that's a trial and error process. File, save as, hit the middle one, bitmap. Now here's why I was picky about the image name. This has also got to be a bitmap image, and I've got to save it from Paint that way. But listen to me carefully. It has to have exactly the same name as your one image, except where the one was, we got to put a 0. So I could have called this picture 1, P1, I call it example 1, whatever. But if I call it P1, I've got to call this one P0. No choice. They have to have exactly the same name, except one of them has a 0 where the other one has a 1. An R? That won't work. Did I erase it? Okay. Now, I cross my fingers and hope I did this right. Here are my two bitmap images that I just now made. Here's P0. That's the off. Here's P1. That's the on. I've got just enough time to hook them up. If I can find the MMLogic program. Here it is. LED, you served us well, but you've also served your purpose. You've outlived your usefulness. Bye-bye now. Hey, click, scissors. To get pictures, you click on this thing that looks like an antiquated little film strip here and drop one of those over there. And it doesn't look like there's any way to connect it. And you would be right. We got to go to properties, click on it, right click, properties. And instead of single image, we want multiple images. We want it to be able to be on or off. And the file name, oh, so important. It will not work if you don't do this. You put only the name of your 0-bit map. You type the name of your 0-bit map, it will find the 1-bit map by replacing 0 with 1 when it needs it. And if you don't remember all this, we'll review it in the lab. It'll be in this video on YouTube. But I've got to type the name of only the 0-bit map, p0.bmp. And then I got to connect it. And to do that, I've got to zoom in. Wire. So many important things here. Only connect to the 0 wire down at the bottom. Why? Because the only valid values for our image are going to be 0 and 1. And if that's the case, then you connect to the 0 wire at the bottom. All this preaching as if I know exactly what I'm doing. We're about to find out. I'm going to save it as if this is correct and see what happens. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. That is row 0. To get to row 1, I click on the 1. Please, oh please. There we go. Look what I can do. Look what I can do. I can make the picture change based on the input settings. Who has a question about anything that I've done here so far? I have 3 minutes, and I'm going to do something which I think is very important, but I hardly left any time for it. And it's not scooting stuff around on the page, even though I am going to do that. I selected everything, and now I'm dragging it. I'm going to put what's called documentation. Documentation is just comments. Put comments that say what this file is and what it's doing. So I click on to select. I want the text on this one to be the file name. Properties, the file name here is, I think it's ex2.lgi. Text, properties, who am I? R England, Translate U. Documents, just give some self-explanation to the file. One more. Why are we here? CS1124. What is this doing? It's example 2. That's good enough. Now, I'll tighten those up a little bit. There. Ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you a complete and functioning MMLogic file. Are there any questions? Oh, I accidentally went to page 3. I don't even know how many pages there are. If you find yourself in need of more space, just annex a page or two. Who has a question while I run it just to make sure I didn't break anything? And to admire my handiwork. Any questions? Are we really going to have to do this in lab today? Yes, you are. The only thing that'll be different, really, is it'll be a different digital logic function. Specifically, it will be the majority function, which we've already looked at in class. So save yourself some time and bring the majority function notes with you to the lab this afternoon. Yes. Yeah, if you've got the lab from last time done and you're ready to hand it in, you could just leave it with me now. Cut. Stop this. Stop this.